Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I wanted to be a little different. I want to cover my top 5 most underrated class setups and weapons here in Modern Warfare 2. Yo, editing salty here. I don't know why I said Modern Warfare 2, but let's just pretend like I said Black Ops Cold War. Keep in mind, your list could be 100% different from mine, and that's okay. It all comes down to like preferences and things like that. But I, again, wanted to be a little different. Feel free to go down in the comment section, share what you think are the most underrated weapons here in Black Ops Cold War. Let's get started. So getting us started here, I wanted to go a little off book and something that maybe people wouldn't have even thought of, and that is the Ironhide shotgun. This thing is super fun to use. Getting long shots with shotguns like this, making it feel like a sniper, is downright ridiculous. I'm surprised it doesn't get used or even talked about enough. It's a very reliable one-shot kill weapon with a crazy damage range for what is considered to be a shotgun. Let's jump into my attachments. All right, so we're gonna start it off here with a muzzle, and that's gonna be the Infantry V-Choke, because this weapon is one that you're gonna wanna make sure you're aiming down the sights. That's much different than most shotguns in this game. Most of the shotguns in this game you can run around reliably hip firing with. However, this one you want to make sure you're aiming down the sights. That's how you're going to get the most reliable one-shot kills, especially at the longer ranges, and that is obviously due to this tighter pellet spread. For the barrel, you're going to want the reinforced heavy. That's going to give you 12% added to your effective damage range, along with speed up your fire rate by 13%, which is only going to help you in the long run, especially in that fire rate. Without it, it is a bit slow, but with the added fire rate attachments, it ends up making it a much more viable option. So our damage range is at 14.29 meters, meaning you can get a one-shot kill up to that range. Obviously, that is insane for a shotgun, but it does require you to be accurate. Our fire rate obviously also gained that increase. Heading down here to a magazine, we have the 8-round tube. This, obviously, we don't really have any sacrifices other than reload quickness, which isn't a massive deal in my opinion. Now, heading down to a handle, this is the only time that I've ever used the drop shot wrap. It gives you reload quickness, 10% extra added fire rate, flinch resistance, and ability to drop shot. The big thing here I'm really targeting is going to be that fire rate. After both the barrel and the wrap is added here, we're at 78 rounds per minute, which sure, that's not fast. It's not fast at all, but it's a shotgun. Think about it. One-shot kills. You can get 8 one-shot kills up to 14 meters, shooting very fast with it overall. And our last attachment is going to be the no stock to increase your sprint to fire speed by 40%. While leveling it up, that was really the only downside of the thing, was going to be the sprint to fire speed. Once the no stock attachment is added, really wasn't a big deal in my opinion. There are your attachments on the screen. If you guys are playing a map like Nuketown, trying to mess around with some stuff, I highly recommend you give it a go. I feel like you're going to have a ton of fun with this one. Let's jump over into number 5. So at number 5, we're going to have the Groza. I feel like I don't see enough of the Groza on the map while I'm playing this game. The Groza is very, very similar to weapons like the FFAR or the FAR 83, a very fast-firing weapon and a very good aggressive choice of assault rifle. The damage range is fairly decent on the thing, and it has virtually no recoil with the right attachment. So again, I'm really surprised I don't see this weapon more than I actually do. It's like an SMG AR hybrid. All right, so we're gonna start here with this build with a barrel, where you're gonna want the 15.7-inch contour. This is gonna give you movement speeds in the form of aim walking speed and just base strafe speeds. Obviously, like I said, it's like an SMG AR combo. It's not a weapon that you want to use at longer ranges. You're gonna wanna be aggressive with it and feel comfortable in both the close and medium range gunfights while doing so. So by adding these movement attachments, it becomes much more viable at the close ranges, and even the medium ranges, you become much harder to hit while you're strafing side to side. So I actually want to cover the damage range. Even though it was technically hit, it's still at 48 meters, so you're not really losing all too much there. You really shouldn't be taking a 50-meter gunfight anyways with this weapon. For the underbarrel, you're going to want the Spetsnaz grip. This gives you 15% vertical and 25% horizontal recoil control. This is going to control all of your recoil for the weapon, and it definitely has some kick if you're not running this attachment. For the magazine, a preference attachment, I normally run the 50 or 40 round drum just to not sacrifice too much aim down sight speed there, but you can really run whatever you want here because it's still extremely fast and extremely fast moving. Heading down to the handle, the GRU elastic wrap, giving us 30% to our aim down sight speed, 90% to our flinch resistance, and then of course ability to drop shot there. I feel like that attachment doesn't need too much explaining. The last attachment is going to be the KGB pad with 50% added to your sprint to fire speed, which is going to significantly help you in the close ranges. This thing with that sprint to fire speed is on par with other SMGs in the game. And then we also get even more aim walking speed, which means you're absolutely flying while you're strafing side to side. There are the attachments for you. An underrated weapon for sure. That's at number 5. I feel like people are going to agree with this one for sure. We're going to head over to number 4 now. So at number 4, I'm going to have the M16, my favorite burst weapon in this game. It was an extremely broken meta in the early goings of Cold War back in Season 1 and was eventually nerfed by Season 1 Reloaded. It was a one burst across the map. It did receive a pretty extreme nerf to the damage range. That being said, though, that's the only thing they touched is the damage range. Everything from recoil control to bullet velocity to movement of the weapon all stayed the same. So I found a way to make it feel more or less the same. Obviously not as extreme. It's not as broken as it once was, but it's pretty dang close. So we're starting here with an optic. I'm not a fan of the iron sights on the M16 in this game personally. If you like them, feel free to run them, or if you have a different optic that you like, you can also run that as well. I'm going with the Vision Tech 2 times. However, I've explained that a lot on the channel. That attachment is for sure a preference. Heading down to a barrel, this is the most important attachment of the build. It's going to be the 20.5 inch match grade. By increasing our effective damage range to 100%, we're up to a 43 meter effective damage range, meaning you can get a one burst kill as long as you're hitting your shots up to 43.18 meters. Like I said, they've significantly nerfed the damage range, so by bringing it back up and them not touching anything else on the weapon, it basically feels like it did pre-nerf. Obviously, there are some other attachments for a barrel you can be running, but I have found nothing but success with this one. I highly recommend you give it a go. I don't feel like the fire rate needs increasing. I don't feel like the damage needs increasing. It's already a 50 damage per bullet kill. So keep that in mind. The only other attachments I would recommend would be the 16.3 inch rapid fire or the task force. But at the end of the day, like I said, the match grade kinda is where I stand firm. Without it, you're at 21 meter effective damage range there. Heading down to the underbarrel, I have the field agent grip for controlling all of our recoil. Obviously, you're going to need to control some recoil and keep your burst nice and centered while you're spraying the trigger. For the magazine, once again, a preference. However, I would definitely avoid the 54 round fast mag and the 45 round speed mag. That's a little too much aim down sight speed to be sacrificing, and 45 bullets is actually a lot more than people think it is, especially with a burst weapon. So that's where I kind of like to be at. And the last attachment is going to be the Raider stock to increase our sprint to fire speed. Just because it's technically a slower paced weapon doesn't mean you don't have to have a fast sprint to fire speed. In case of a close range engagement, we're also gaining that 40% to the aim walking speed. So once again, there's the attachments on the screen. I feel like some people may disagree and feel like this weapon isn't underrated at all, but I feel like it's another weapon I don't really see a lot of. I do see it here and there, but it's not a weapon that I see on a every game type basis. At number 3, I'm going to have the Stoner 63 LMG, and this has been the LMG meta basically since the game came out. For a very short period of time, the RPD was a meta, but it was only like 2 weeks, and then that thing got nerfed, and the Stoner immediately took its place. It's always been a very viable option in multiplayer. I know it controlled the Warzone meta for a while because it has very high damage, very low recoil, and it just wipes people off the map with the large magazine. All right, so this is a build that is going to require 8 attachments, so make sure you're running the Gunfighter wildcard. The optic, once again, I'm not going to get into this. It's a preference attachment. I'm going with the Vision Tech 2 times there. For a muzzle, this is 100% necessary. You're going to need the infantry compensator to take care of vertical recoil control. Without it, this weapon does have a crazy recoil pattern that is a bit hard to control, so keep that in mind as you're using it. The compensator will 100% end up being necessary there. For the barrel, you're going to want the 21.8 inch task force. This is going to increase your damage, effective damage range, along with bullet velocity. So our damage is now at 41 meters, our effective damage range is at 43.18 meters, and our bullet velocity is at 1003.88 meters per second. One of the really underrated facts about this weapon is that the fire is at 722 rounds per minute. That's actually crazy fast, even though it may not feel like it in game. It has a very, very fast fire rate. For the body, I like to use the SOF target designator, especially on slower paced weapons. It'll end up putting a dot above your enemy's head while you're aiming down the sights as long as they're in your field of view. You can also go with the mounted flashlight or steady aim laser there. For the underbarrel, the field agent grip is making an appearance once again to take care of even more recoil. Between this and the muzzle, it is very, very easy to control. In my opinion, it's got virtually no recoil, but I guess some people are better at controlling recoil than others, so I'm not going to say it has zero recoil whatsoever. But definitely, the field agent grip and the compensator combination is a very good choice. For the magazine, I like to use the normal fast mag here, as we're not sacrificing any aim down sight speed, but we still get that ability to reload quickly, get right back into the action. You can go with the 100 round mag here, as it also does not sacrifice aim down sight speed, but personally, I like that fast reload. For the handle, airborne elastic grab once again. Don't need to explain this attachment. most amount of aim down sight speed, flinch resistance, ability to drop shot. And our last attachment is the Raider pad. I feel like a broken record because it's sprint to fire speed and aim walking speed. I'm going to say this again. Just because it's a slow-paced weapon doesn't mean you don't need that added sprint to fire speed. In case of a close-range engagement, getting your gun up quickly is nothing but a positive. Doesn't matter what weapon you end up using. Now, people may say this isn't underrated, but I haven't really run into it since I came back to the game, since it's been PlayStation free-to-play. So I kind of want to throw this out there, see if maybe more people want to give it a try. I definitely ended up seeing it in 12v12 quite a bit, but in 6v6, feel like it's a little slept on. So at number 2, I have the Milano 821, or the Uzi, whatever you end up calling it. The Milano 821 is a slower firing SMG with a high damage output, and it has virtually no recoil with the right attachments. It's always been slept on. Doesn't matter when you played the game, this weapon has always kind of been overlooked by weapons like the AK-74U, the MP5, the LC-10, the Tech 9, of course. It's not a bad option whatsoever. It definitely competes. It definitely competes at the close range. It definitely competes at the medium range for sure. I feel like, well, I guess the best way to describe it, underrated. All right, so let's get going with our attachments here. For a barrel, you're going to want the 10.5-inch Ranger to increase your bullet velocity by 100% here. Our damage range is actually very, very good at 15.24 meters, which is above average for SMGs. And as you can see, I mentioned the high damage. It's at a 42 base damage with this weapon. It's absolutely absurd. What really puts people off is the slow fire of 576 rounds per minute. But when you increase that bullet velocity by 100%, it's at 450 meters per second. You have assault rifle statistics here that most people don't know how to utilize. Make sure if you're using this weapon, yes, very good as an aggressive choice, but you can also be taking medium range gunfights with ease. Your underbarrel is going to be the normal foregrip here. That's going to give you 12% to the horizontal recoil control. With this weapon, I don't see any vertical whatsoever. I feel like you could just sit there, hold the trigger, and it's going to shoot a straight line. But the big thing is the side-to-side bounce that is controlled here with the foregrip that will help you be much more accurate. For the magazine, I like to use the 45-round drum to keep my aim down sight speed nice and snappy, but you can run whatever it is you're comfortable with here. And the airborne elastigrap, broken record. Aim down sight speed, flinch resistance, ability to drop shot. I don't need to explain this attachment. We're going to move on. And the Raider stock, another attachment I feel like I don't need to explain, but we're here giving you sprint to fire speed, aim walking speed. Obviously, if they're on every weapon, those are some of the best attachments in the game, and they work on basically every weapon in the game. So I've definitely seen the Milano used more and more with a lot of the new players playing the game, but I feel like that's just because it's in the preset weapon classes. I don't think people are willingly choosing to use the weapon, and that's why I kind of classify it as underrated. Make sure you guys go down in the comment section and let me know, do you think the Milano is underrated? And finally, at number 1, we're going to have the KSP-45, not the easiest weapon in the game. I understand that completely, but it's a weapon that if you can master, it is the fastest killing SMG in the game. I don't think I've run into this one single time since coming back to Black Ops Cold War, and it's an absolute shame because you are missing out. It is a one burst kill at a pretty decent distance, especially when you have the right attachments. The recoil is very easily controlled. It's a damage monster. Close and medium range is where it's going to thrive. And again, not an easy weapon, but when you can master it, probably the best weapon in the game. All right, let's get started here with a muzzle. I have the infantry compensator for 12% recoil control. This attachment is necessary because I like to use the task force barrel here. You gain 8% damage, 50% effective damage range, and 75% bullet velocity. So looking at our statistics here, we have a base damage of 54. That's not really why I'm using it. I have the effective damage range to 22.86 meters, meaning you can get a one burst kill up to 22.86 meters with an SMG. Really consider that. And a bullet velocity of 463.75 meters per second. I also find that extra damage can be a little more forgiving if you hit people in the legs and whatnot, because there are different multipliers for different parts of the body. That's why I find the task force barrel very effective on this weapon. It requires you to not be as accurate. Keep in mind, if you want a better recoil control pattern, go with the reinforced heavy. You're still increasing your damage range and bullet velocity there, but the task force is definitely my choice. Heading down to an underbarrel, you're going to want the field agent grip. Obviously, we need to control more recoil because we're running the task force barrel, and this gives it virtually a very easy recoil control, especially while spamming the trigger. Between this and the muzzle, you really shouldn't have any problems. Like I said, if you are still struggling with recoil, take the barrel, chuck on the reinforced heavy. Heading down to a magazine, you're going to want the 42 round mag. preference once again, but you're really not gaining much else between 48 and 42. So really you should just be keeping your aim down sight speed and going with the 42 there. Our last attachment is the airborne elastic wrap. Once again, because of the aim down sight speed, let's be honest, I don't drop shot that much. That part is effective, but it's really that aim down sight speed what I'm chasing. So for the final time in this video, here are the attachments on the screen. Definitely copy these ones down and head into game. Give this a try. 100% the most underrated weapon in the game. So like I stated at the beginning of the video, feel free to go down in the comment section. Let me know what you think the most underrated weapons are here in Black Ops Cold War. I love hearing my subscribers' opinions on certain things. That way I can get a good idea of what I should be uploading and posting to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you guys in the next one.